be presenting a paper that connects religious and theological issues. I argue that the practice of washing of the saints' feet creates a certain horizon, or habitus, that makes humility and servant leadership visible and real in the life of Christian communities. Many Christian communities practice foot washing. Here, the focus will be on the experience of one extended community in particular, the Convention of Original Free Will Baptists. Drawing from the personal experience of pastors, the goal will be to establish and demonstrate the vital necessity of foot washing as a sacramental embodiment of Jesus Christ in the life of the church. This will help justify the need for increased intention and study on the practice of foot washing. Traditionally, to answer this question posed by the title, an investigation would perhaps originate from a dogmatic or metaphysical approach. However, this paper would take a different route, using instead hermeneutics, semiotics, and experience in which to establish foot washing's sacramental character. This is done in order to respect the lived practice of discourse, which may not feel it necessary to appeal to a systematic theology. Arguing for foot washing as a traditional sacrament is not the goal, but rather establishing the sacramental nature of foot washing in a way that non-sacramental communities, such as Original Free Will Baptists, find comfortable and meaningful. Establishing the sacramental through action, symbol, and embodiment will show the necessity of foot washing as a visible manifestation of humility and servant leadership that connects Christian communities to Christ. The Original Free Will Baptist denomination is located primarily in central and eastern North Carolina. While small in number, they are rich in history. Tracing a history to the English General Baptist, the denomination has had generations of practice since the early 1700s. This community considers washing of the saints' feet as an ordinance of equal standing with baptism and communion. It is traditionally practiced following communion, whereby members wash one another's feet, involving only basins of water and girded towels. It is simple in design, but powerful in meaning, where significance is found not in the things used, but in the actions involved. The Original Free Will Baptists have little in the way of a written theology on foot washing, yet there is an abundant unwritten tradition and theology on washing of the saints' feet. This study used an online survey and personal interviews in order to bridge the gap between theory and practice. A total of 54 pastors participated in the online survey. Out of this group, 7 participated in phone interviews. These pastors comprise a voice, which, when coupled with theological and religious studies, provides a powerful argument for the continuation and expansion of foot washing in contemporary Christianity. At its fundamental level, washing of the saints' feet is an action which is performed. As an action, it involves simple movements of taking off one's shoes, kneeling, girding oneself with a towel, and sprinkling and drying another's feet. It can be done in levity and lightheartedness, or performed in solemnity and silence. There are no rules or rubrics which to follow among Original Free Will Baptists, but at its core, it is a communal action. Here, this activity of washing and being washed creates a bond of experience shared by those involved. As one pastor put it, it's a chance to serve someone in a very physical way. As a physical act, how can it be interpreted? Paul Ricoeur provides a helpful starting point. Ricoeur postulates that meaningful action can be interpreted in a similar manner as a discourse, in both the written word and the speech act. Action, like a text, has a propositional content, is detached from its author or agent, and has an importance which goes beyond the initial situation, and finally can be addressed to an unlimited array of possible readers. Meaningful action can become the object of science without losing its character of meaningfulness through a kind of objectification similar to the fixation of that which occurs in writing. This work is about that science. Action has a propositional content that allows for the possibility of detachment of meaning in a similar manner to a text detachment from its author. Action is an action event that carries a certain sense content that leaves its mark. The ability for the sense content or its meaning to become real due to the action is possible because of its detachment from its agents. Once performed, meaningful action can escape us and have effects which we did not intend. Meaningful action can leave a trace that establishes patterns to document human activity. Actions can become so imbued with meaning that meanings no longer correspond with logical action. Instead, the meanings go beyond the initial relevance of the situation and create a special kind of world whereby action event exceeds, overcomes, transcends the social conditions of its production, and may be reenacted in new social contexts. The meaning of the action event can overcome its social conditions, and as a result, present new possibilities and meanings for its readers. For original Free Baptist pastors, foot washing is indeed an action event, saturated with meaning that goes beyond what is necessarily occurring in the room. In both surveys and interviewed pastors identified this practice as an act of humility, which one pastor described as an action that symbolizes humility and service where all are equal. And another stated that it is a tradition that allows for us to experience and remember the servant's heart that we are called to demonstrate. In every interview, pastors emphasized that this was an action that should inform and influence one's daily life and activity. As a polyvalent action demonstrating humility, servanthood, and love, pastors stress the need for the meanings of foot washing to grow in our actions and take the meaning to heart. As a creator of meaning, foot washing is an open text, accessible and available to be enacted to anyone present. This meaningful action is able to stay fresh through its ability to open up new interpretations and references to its participants. Foot washing, like any other meaningful action event, has practical interpretations, is open to practical interpretation. Human action is an open work, the meaning of which is in suspense. This suspense is ultimately broken by way of praxis. The action and reflection of action creates a new way of being and acting in the world, which in the case of foot washing can only be known through practice and experience. One must participate in foot washing in order to truly understand it. Ricord goes on to suggest that action has a fundamental symbolic function. The symbolic function is more than a secondary phenomenon within social action. It is the essential foundation of the social life. The symbolic is necessarily social, and the social is essentially symbolic. Meaningful action has the ability to point towards the problems of social existence. It creates a new, meaningful world that goes beyond its initial social context. Understanding the symbolic significance of action event involves having a kind of personal commitment, similar to that of the reader who grasps the depth semantics of the text and makes it his or her own. Action event requires a personal commitment to be fully known. Original Free Will Baptists echo this need for experience and personal commitment in foot washing. Interviewed pastors stressed that foot washing's meanings must be experienced in order to be grasped. As these pastors explained, there's no formal teaching or explanation on foot washing. Instead, the practice is learned by doing. When asked how this practice was learned, one pastor could only respond with a statement saying, "I learned by experience. It was never explained to me." A pastor recalled, as a young child, having his feet washed by his father, and though at the time he did not understand why, he remembered his father weeping as he washed his son's feet. Similar stories were shared by other pastors